doesn't make it there. Would this season be a complete failure with the stars aligning as they have been, Will?
No, it wouldn't be a failure. What you doing? You didn't catch me in anything. Watch this. The windows are small, and I hate that. When windows are missed, you rarely get a second chance. When the Dallas Mavericks lost to the Miami Heat in 2006, I thought it would never happen again. We got a second blessing to come back in 11 and do it a second time. That rarely happens. Windows are tight. But that being said, you can't tell me a team that was 4-12 last year, that had a 9-win improvement with their backup quarterback. They lost their starting quarterback, their franchise quarterback, their $100 million quarterback before the season started, and they won 13 games. You can't tell me that anything what they've done so far, winning 13 games, going to the divisional round of the playoffs, would be considered a disappointment. It cannot.
Will, let me just get this straight today. It's hard to... You should just argue against yourself. I could put, like, video of you from earlier in the show.
I can't wait.
And now, and you two can have a debate.
I doubt it, but let's see.
First, it's... Dak is going to win more Super Bowls than Aaron Rodgers because he's going to have opportunity after opportunity after opportunity.
Yes.
Then it's windows are fleeting. You don't know when you're going to get another chance.
Normally, but the Cowboys' window's bigger.
Every Super Bowl that you think is the premier Super Bowl matchup this year, every single one, involves the Dallas Cowboys. You'd rather see Cowboys-Texans than Packers and Patriots.
Oh, careful. Not me, the people.
The people. You're speaking on behalf of the people. Yeah. And now you're saying that the Dallas Cowboys, who I looked this up with research, 2 playoff wins in the last 415 years. 2 playoff wins. 415 years, only 2 playoff wins.
What do you mean 415 years?
It's been a long time. I didn't, we looked it up. It's been a long time. Not a lot of playoff wins. They don't win playoff games.
Stats joke. It took me a minute on a stats joke.
Yeah, me too. Got me. Go ahead.
You guys were thinking, has it been 415 years? Hold on.
I was carrying the one.
Like, research. You know it's been a long time. I mean, they don't win playoff games, and now you win the division. You're the best team, maybe in football, wire to wire, really. Throw out the Eagles game. They had nothing to play for. The Eagles did. They lost twice to the Giants. Bad matchup, divisional rivalry for them. They didn't lose to anyone else, in spite of playing some very good teams, including the Packers at Green Bay. And finally, you have Dak Prescott. This is not Tony Romo, who's criticized for not winning playoff games. They've built it the right way. This is not Jerry Jones having them ill-prepared for this moment, but Stephen Jones, who's built up a team. We've been talking about it all show.
Building up a team.
Right.
Yes.
And now you're saying that this is a success if they get out of this season without a playoff win? You can't have one playoff win? They have to win a playoff game.
Conviction when you said that it wouldn't be a failure. I got to be honest.
I don't look at it as a complete failure. I mean, it's not a complete. I think listen, what was the expectations of the Cowboys coming into this season? The expectation was, even with Tony Romo, I had them going 9-7.
At the best, Aaron, everybody said their defense was awful.
Absolutely. And I was the main one on that defense, talking about that defense. I don't think it's a complete failure. And I'm one, trust me on this, I'm one that go on the record. When we lost games in the Super Bowl, or in the playoffs or whatnot, I always said, listen, it's a failure. If you don't win the Super Bowl, it's a failure. It's because I was spoiled coming into the league by winning my first couple of years as winning Super Bowls. But in this situation with Dak, with Zeke, these young guys, this is not a failure.
It is pretty remarkable.
It's remarkable what they've accomplished.
I have to say that when Tony Romo went down, that they have a shot at this. It is incredible.
We're not talking about this. We're not talking about how the franchise is set up going forward. I concede that argument. They're set up lovely, at least on paper. We're talking about this season. You have to win a playoff game this season.
So you're calling it a complete failure if they lose this weekend?
Is it a success or a failure if they don't win at least a playoff game?
That's a success where they are right now. Right now.
Before they play the game.
By the way, I'm going to illustrate this point. Okay, you thought you got me in some kind of inconsistency a little bit earlier, but I've had the blessing, some might call it a curse, to be sitting on this set for the entire 2016 football season. I have a long memory. I have a memory, so I'm going to help. But what was your prediction for the Dallas Cowboys?
Last place in the division.
I couldn't hear you. What'd you say?
Last place in the division.
Last place in the division was your preseason prediction.
Yes.
They are in the divisional round of the playoffs, number 1 seed and won 13 games, and you say that's a failure if they don't win a game?
And I will tell you why.
I think my inconsistencies are minor.
No, that's not inconsistent at all. Preseason, we didn't know what Dak Prescott was. And what we saw from the Dallas Cowboys last year, in spite of having an excellent offensive line, was that The quarterback position for them was the tipping point. I predicted last year the Cowboys could make a Super Bowl run last year because I thought if they could just tread water till Romo comes back, and given that offensive line, and a mediocre quarterback could maybe do it. And it turned out, no, they couldn't. They were awful without Romo. My assumption was Dak Prescott as a rookie would not be an average quarterback.
You made that prediction. You made that last week's prediction
however,
well into the season.
Yes,
well into the season.
No, when new evidence comes in, you have to change your opinion.
Oh,
and
no.
what
Come on,
happened
Max.
was,
I would
Come
go on
on,
record
Max.
is
and what had happened
you were
was,
making that
what had happened was,
what had happened was,
I have one question for you.
that Dak was awesome. What do you want me to tell you? Dak was
Just
awesome.
a yes or no. Was the Giants season a failure?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, they didn't win a playoff
So if the
game.
Packers
Yes.
lose this game, is that season a failure as well?
No, because the Packers had to run the
That's his
table to
MVP.
make the playoffs. And what they already accomplished was remarkable by the time they did that. The Cowboys, wire to wire, looked like the best team in the league. You haven't won a playoff game in 723 years. I just double-checked. You need to. Is that any better? Does that make it funnier at all, or is it still
No,
not?
it's just how is it not a failure for the Packers, but for the Cowboys it is.
Look, because the Packers weren't the best. Like
But
the
you still
Packers
have the
didn't
best
win 13
quarterback. You
games.
just talked about you have the best quarterback in the league and the best quarterback ever. You just talked about that.
Which is
Dak's a
why
rookie.
they were.
Zeke's a rookie.
Which is why they were able to overcome long odds once they put themselves that far behind the 8 ball. But the Cowboys didn't do that. The Cowboys looked awesome all year, and I conceded that halfway through the season. Will Kane.
About in November.
Well, it's about halfway through the season. You know.
All right, Darren, thank you so much for being with us.
Appreciate
This has been a lot of fun. Speaking of those Giants, they have taken the good, the bad, and the ugly with Odell Beckham, but is it actually time to consider moving on from their star receiver? Don't miss what Michael Irvin has to say about it. Darren shaking his head at that. And after the break, he has nearly 1,200 career victories and is a former NBA Coach of the Year. There he is, George Karl, joining the desk. We'll get into all things basketball, ask him about Carmelo Anthony, and so much more. That's coming up next. First Take George, thank you so much for being here.